Hello and welcome to Wrestle Talk with Arabbidb3aver. And tonight on Wrestle Talk, we have from the Wrestling Society Network, the man is going to take us back to school, old school style, and the head of talent scouting program at the WSN, the one, the only, Herman, the Professor Bear Cade. Thank you so much for being here and agreeing to come on the show tonight, sir.
Oh no, thank you for having me. I've been, as you know, I've been reaching out to you a couple of different times, so I am the one that is grateful and humble for the opportunity.
Well, we would love to have you come on again in the future. I know that you have a lot going on with the Wrestling Society. Let's just start where it all started for you, Professor Bear. We have lots to discuss tonight, so let's go back to your humble beginnings in wrestling business. How did you break in?
Well, I broke in with a friend, Brady Owens, and the first thing that Brady wanted to do was a podcast. So we decided, okay, we could do that. And Brady is the owner of WSN. So we did a couple of podcasts. We felt good about it. And then we were like, hey, we got to pick it up. We got to try to get people and do different things. So I started reaching out to people, and just so happened I went to a wrestling show, Crossfire Wrestling, and it was me and my wife. My wife first time at an independent show, so she didn't know how to deal with it and everything. But at the time we got there, I was so blessed that I got to talk to Kenzie Page. She, at the time, was the NWA women, one half of the women's tag team champions. So I was talking to her and I was telling her, had my little shirt on. She's like, hey, I could have promo for you. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. And I'm thinking, well, I don't have I barely had money to pay tickets to get in. She was like, come on. So we walked out, and she cut a fantastic promo for us. And she was like, anything you need, just let me know. And I'm like, wow. So that's how I got into the backstage of wrestling. Now, quickly, I will tell you how I started loving wrestling. So my father, Herman Cade Sr., he was a big wrestling fan. So if dad's a wrestling fan, everybody in the house is going to do wrestling.
Yeah.
So he watched it. He took us to local shows, and I'm out of Knoxville, Tennessee. So we have a rich tradition of wrestling, as you know.
Absolutely. The NWA was there all the time, along with all the other smaller promotions that were at the Aztec. That were coming through. They all went through Carnes. They all went through all the little schools there, and they promoted the Armory, everything, Sevierville, all of it. So yeah, I know specifically.
So we used to do that a lot, and of course, being here, if you're a wrestling fan, there was no other thing but Georgia Championship Wrestling on TV at 6:05. So of course, the family knew. Don't make noise. Saturday, 6:05, shut up or be out the house. It got so bad that our friends knew, come get you before then, or you wasn't coming out.
Locked out. Yeah.
You knew better.
Yeah, same thing in our house. We did NWA and AWA and Georgia Championship Wrestling, and it was like clockwork. As soon as AWA went off and NWA came on, or well, it was WCW at that point in time, but as soon as it came on, and that was it. You were locked in.
So that's how I got into loving wrestling. And like you said, if you were lucky, you could get the AWA. We got also world class
championship wrestling. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were blessed to see so many different stars and know different territories and storylines. So I just took it really to heart. I just loved it. I followed. So when the territories started getting shut down by Vince, And we watched a little WWF. So when Vince started shutting them down, I was tore up and heartbroken by it.
So, Professor Bear, I have to say this. It was not Vince Sr. that tore the territories down. It was Vince Jr. who tore the territories down. Vince Sr. would actually give talent away. He would go, I'm going to give you Andre the Giant for 6 weeks, but we want McAdoo to come in. We want Wahoo McDaniels to come in. We want somebody else to come in and work the territory with us. And he was hand in hand with the territories trying to work it out. And I think that was one of the biggest mistakes that professional wrestling ever made, was destroying the territories. That's just my personal belief on it. And we can probably talk about it all night, but let's go on. Sorry.
And when I say Vince, I always mean Vince Jr., never Vince Sr., or I will say Vince Sr. So I'm just know wrestling. I watch wrestling. So that's how I got into wrestling.
Awesome. What's your most memorable moment in professional wrestling? Looking back on everything you've watched, everything you've seen personally and been through.
Probably number one was when the Junkyard Dog came to my brother's house.
Wow. Tell us about it.
So my brother and sister were living in Atlanta at the time, and my sister and her husband just had their first child. And I was down there with my cousin, and we were just hanging out, and got a knock on the door. So I get up, go to the door, I open it, and to my amazement, it's the Junkyard Dog.
Wow.
And he asked for my brother. So I'm like, I'm in my head, like, it's the Junkyard Dog, freak out. Ah! But then I just played it cool, called for my brother, like, hey, the Junkyard Dog's down here. He's like, well, send them upstairs. I was like, okay. So he came in, and that was the first time and the last time I ever seen someone fall up the steps. When I say fall up the steps, it's not like he just fell up, tripped over a stair and fell. He went 3 steps. He missed 3 steps. And I'm still trying, to this day, I can't figure out how he did it. But that was probably the biggest moment for me personally, because it was the Junkyard Dog. Then I have another one where as a kid, I met Ernie the Cat Ladd.
Really?
My mother and father were big into playing spades, and they had a friend who played would play spades, different kind of card games. Well, they've met wrestlers, and they knew wrestlers came. So I think my father was gone to work, and my mother asked me if I wanted to go with her. And I'm like, and then she said, well, Thunderbolt Patterson is going to be there. So I like, I beat it to the
You're
car.
in.
I beat it to the car. So we get there, and I'm and I love Thunderbolt Patterson. Oh, so we go in. That's not Thunderbolt Patterson. And he's like, oh, hi, I'm Ernie Ladd. And I don't, man, I just kind of like, oh. And I walked out and sat in the car until she got to play card.
So when I was younger, I got to meet Andre the Giant in Chattanooga. And he was at a Lookouts game. He was at a matinee game, a day game. And that was we didn't know he was going to be there. My dad just got off early, and he would always take us to baseball. And that was the largest man I've ever met in my life. I mean, still to this day, just the size of his hand was ridiculous to me. You know, like it's as big as my forehead, the size of his hand was. I mean, really. And from that point in time forward, it was just like I had to know about him. I had to find out. And I remember him doing like the honeycomb commercials and doing the Green Giant commercials and things like that. And I was like, I met this guy. Like it was just very memorable inside my head for Andre the Giant. And that was one of the biggest reasons that I actually wanted to get into wrestling and try to follow wrestling and stay in wrestling. And the other one was the Hart Foundation. I've talked about this many times, but the Hart Foundation versus Demolition during the SummerSlam eras that they went through really just set it off for me. We got to tape. My earliest memory of wrestling was that Hart Foundation versus Demolition with the Legion of Doom, who were coming back for SummerSlam. That was my earliest recognition of wrestling. We got a tape of it and we watched it over and over and over and over. And I drove everybody crazy with it, but that was my first and earliest two recognitions of wrestling in the world. And it really shaped my life in certain ways, in certain aspects, because to me, Andre the Giant is still the tallest man in the world to me, because just seeing him in person, and he was so big and so gentle, but nobody really gets to really see that side of him. And Mark Henry told a story not too long back about the people that inspired him and wanted to get him in wrestling. And he met Mark Henry at one point in time as well. And that was the main man that got him into it. So I kind of relate with Mark Henry on that aspect, because after seeing him, it was just like, whatever this guy does, I want to know what it's about. So let's move on just a little bit. We talked about it just a little bit earlier, Professor Bear, about the Wrestling Society Network. How did you get your start? And have you enjoyed the ride so far, becoming in with the Wrestling Society Network, and what all's entailed in it? I mean, you got a lot of things going on now.
Okay, so I got my start in it where one day I was on Facebook and I saw an ad asking for people to do a podcast, and I read it, and it was, of course, about wrestling, and I was like, so I left the room and went into the living room where my wife was, and I sat down with her, and I told her what I saw the ad. She's like, okay, so why are you sitting here? Go sign, go do what you need to do. And I'm like, man, nobody ain't gonna want to hear me talk about wrestling. She was like, oh, please, you'll debate against anyone. You'll debate against God if he came down. And I sat there and thought about it, and I was like, well, she ain't lying. I would. And I would be humble. I would say, Lord, please, not trying to be disrespectful, but A, B, and C. So I got up, came back in my, as I call it, bear cave, and sent out my little interview. And about an hour later, Brady got in touch with me, and me and him talked, and me and him been rocking together ever since with WSN.
Well, we've been keeping up with WSN, and you know that you all started a Roku app. We know that you started this Roku app. Would you like to tell us about it for just a few moments?
Yeah, and it's actually not just a Roku app. It's on Apple TV. It's on Amazon and Fire Stick also.
Awesome.
So what it is our kind of our love letter to say to wrestling and for wrestling fans. When Brady was a kid, he fell in love with wrestling. But as all of us back in that time, wrestling, it was hard to find. You had to look for it really hard. Like it could be on this channel or that channel or wherever. So Brady always had a dream of building an app where people could go and watch wrestling 24/7. So he put together, once he got to thinking about it, he had us do a bunch of content. Then he got to thinking, well, there's so many other content creators out there and podcasters. Why don't we all join? They can join us and we can have a great app with a lot of different info on it. So basically, when you go on the app, you can find documentaries, bios, wrestling cartoons, wrestling movies with wrestlers starring in it. You can find video games reviews. You can find our 2K promotion that we do. We have wrestling figure promotions. We have collectibles. So we have so many different options generated around wrestling. We even have a little MMA. So
that's awesome, Professor Bear. We have to know, are you looking for sponsors for the WSN in any capacity, the app or the website or the Fire Stick, anything that you've mentioned?
Yes. We are just now, because everything was self paid for. But now we are at a point that we think sponsors would be tremendous to help and take us to that next level, because we came so far so fast that we wasn't expecting it. And one of the things that, another point that I love, that the podcast community is so sweet and humble. Most people are willing to help and willing to support each other. And that is something so great. And it makes the community better. It makes your viewing pleasure better. So, yeah, we're definitely looking for sponsors.
Well, can you tell us about how they can become a sponsor since you're looking for them?
Well, you would need to get in touch with myself or Brady Owens. We both have our Facebook pages, and that's probably the best way to get in touch with us, or even go on our Facebook Wrestling Society Network page and shoot us a message on there, and we could talk then.
Absolutely. I just showed them both of those pages, your personal page, Professor Bear, and also the Wrestling Society Network page. We just popped that up for them so they could see that directly. And that's what it looks like. That's how you can get in touch with them if you're interested in becoming a sponsor. Now, you mentioned something a minute ago on the app. You said that you had video games that stream too, right? I think we caught some SmackDown Here Comes the Pain just a few hours ago when you watched the entire thing. This has really changed the game for WSN. What do you have to say about that?
Well, as you can see behind me, I'm a gamer.
Yeah.
And I think I like that people enjoy games, and you maybe not as old as I am and you're just getting into it. So we put out a lot of different game reviews so you can learn about them and maybe go back and get them and play them yourself. It's such a wonderful thing. And on top of that, with our 2K promotion, it is an amazing thing. We try to make it so realistic, and we have some of our fans that are wrestlers on it. We have independent wrestlers on the game. So we're just trying to, again, make it your WWE.
Right.
That's what we're trying to do.
Well, it kind of is in a way, because like you said, you've included everybody from collectors to game players to those that want to have podcasts, those that are just talking about the industry in any way, wrestlers themselves, their families, all of it. So you've kind of got the market, and you've done a good job on this, because before your app, I don't think that there's hardly been anybody besides the big conglomerates that have been able to put up this such of a fight early on in the game and be so successful. So congratulations to the Wrestling Society Network on this. And you guys definitely have to download that app. You have to download it wherever you guys are at, whether you guys are on Android, you guys are on Apple, whether you guys are on Roku, Fire Stick. You got to get a hold of it, because there's something for everybody in the Wrestling Society Network. And it does not matter where you're at professionally or where you started inside the business. You can start in the business with the Wrestling Society Network and move your way forward there. And that's the beautiful thing about it, Professor Bear. Let's talk about it. You wanted to branch out and give a voice to young talent in the business who otherwise wouldn't be seen at all. WSN provides this kind of action, right?
Yes, sir. This is a way of giving back to the indies. A lot of people don't really know about independent wrestling. They always think it's just the big ones, and that is so not true. They have to start learning their crafts somewhere, and most independent promotions are all over the US, Canada, around the world. And a lot of younger talent don't get a chance to learn their crafts as far as doing a interview, doing promoting themselves. So we're giving back just a tad. You know, we can only do so much, but
right.
One of the things that we do, like we have a wrestler of the week. Indie, it has to be an indie wrestler, and it's a chance for them to get recognized, to get their name out there, and people to pay attention to them. Then we also have a personality of the week, and that's for the referees, the managers, the valets, the commentators, because they most of them do not get the love, the credit they deserve in this crazy world of wrestling.
Well, it's entertainment and it's drama. And you got to see that inside drama, every good storyline has either a good male or female, whether it be a manager or a valet, to carry them through sometimes. So I absolutely agree with you doing that. And also with, like you said, the referees, the announcers, who normally wouldn't be heard or be unsung heroes in the world of wrestling. I will mention one right now. EC Dangerously out of the School of Morton puts his heart and soul into everything he does all the time. And I've got to say, it's only a matter of time before he eventually does not stay where he's at. He moves forward and does something bigger and better inside the industry. And that's the beautiful thing about the wrestling industry is you never know where you're going to start and you never know when you're going to end up, but you always know that the ride is going to be fun. It's going to be drama filled. You're going to have a lot of stuff that happens to you in the industry. It's going to be drama filled, but you're always going to be doing something to better yourself and better your craft. Be better than you were yesterday. That's what a wise man once told me, and I pass that on everywhere. Always try to be better than you were yesterday. And it seems like you guys are better than you were yesterday, especially by making sure that it's a vote for whoever the independent is, whoever that independent promotion is, that independent person that you're putting out there for you, and also the personality of the week. That actually is a big thing in the society because everybody has a say on who they want. And it's not just one person. I've seen you put 4 people up at one point in time. So I know that your vote counts whenever you do that. And it's done by majority. And that's the way it's supposed to be. So I applaud you guys once again for going that route and letting people see everything that's going on in the independent promotions. We got to see the Notorious Storm a couple weeks ago. He was actually on our show as well. And you all had him as Wrestler of the Week at one point in time. And that was a huge thing for him. The Notorious Storm has gone through some crazy stuff in his life. And we've got to say, for him to come full circle and to be put on the Wrestling Society Network's page, that made his day. You have no idea. He talked to me about it privately. That made his day. Like, he thought he was the biggest man in the world just by the way that you guys did that. So, that's an awesome thing for you guys. Professor Bear, is there anything that we didn't go over that you would like to talk about today?
Well, yes. Right. I want to give a quick shout out to Amy. She is the one that is over the Wrestlers of the Week. She does so much, and she's one of our moderators for the website. She is such a lovely woman, and she does so much. And I want to thank you and let the world know that when the Wrestling Society Network wins, everyone in our team wins. So I wanted to give her a quick shout out and tell her thank you.
I've got to thank her as well. Without Amy Berryman in our lives, we wouldn't be where we're at as far as being put out there and knowing the people that we know. She got us connected with NWA JCP and got us connected inside the School of Morton and other places. And she's still trying to get us connected with other people. She's still trying to help us out and get people on our show. So I have to thank her as well. Without her, none of this would have been possible. She has put her heart and soul into it. And every time I've shared something, unless it was already shared, she has shared it with me and put it out on your network and countless of others. She is so connected, guys. So thank you, Amy Berryman, for doing that for all of us. I mean, we couldn't do this without you. Professor Bear, is there anything else?
Yes. Tomorrow we are having our first live stream. Yes, our first live stream of professional wrestling. This is from Supernova Wrestling, and they're having their card tomorrow night. And this is such a big thing for not only them, but for us, that we are just taking that next step to help independent wrestling promoters. So now, promoters, if you want to have live stream to get your stuff out to a much broader audience, to the world, because we are worldwide, come take a look at us. Come talk to us. We can give you such a good deal. And again, it's not just about making money, as yes, we do want to make it, but we want to give back to wrestling, because personally, wrestling for me is love, a passion, and I want to give back. So when I'm dead and gone, when my great grandchildren are here, they can continue saying, hey, wrestling. They talked about great granddad, about how much he loved wrestling and how much he helped.
Absolutely, Professor Bear. I want to be in that same category. I want to be able to tell my grandchildren about things that I got to see and got to do, and then show them. That's one of the reasons why we do video footage of the different events that we go to, is because one day I want to be able to show them that, yes, this really did happen. And yes, we were a part of it. And yes, we did that. And that way they've always got that legacy too. If they ever needed to download or take anything with them and remember us for the good times that we had, that would be the best way to do it. That's one of the reasons why we got into this. One of the other things is, I believe that you're going to be tomorrow at Crossfire Professional Wrestling, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Let's show that on the screen real quick. Tomorrow, Crossfire Professional Wrestling is hosting Black Harvest, Professor Bear. Jay Lethal is supposed to be there. Kylie Page, Kenzie Page are going to be there. Tom Latimer, the world heavyweight champion for the NWA, is going to be there. Max the Impaler is going to be there. Juventud Guerrero is going to be there. Kerry Morton's going to be there, and so many more. And Professor Bear, do you have anything going on there?
Well, I'm just going to, I pretty much tell this story every time. Kenzie Page has been one of the sweetest young ladies that I've met in this industry. She's been one of the first people to help us with wanting nothing back. And I always love to support her sister, and her father. And just being able to talk to some of the wrestlers, and hopefully I can get to meet them and have discussions with them, and just again show the love and show the support, and actually hopefully get WSN name out there, so maybe they will talk to people and talk to other people. I just enjoy wrestling, and this is my wife's favorite promotion, so
wow,
you can't beat that.
No, you definitely can't. So we were actually a part of the JCP show in Sunbright. We got to meet Kenzie, and Kenzie was such a sweetheart to us. She told us when their next event was going to be. She asked us to come. She wanted us to be there, and she gave us access basically to anything we wanted while we were at the show to cover it. We had such a good time at their last show that they held. And it was beautiful in Newport, Tennessee is where it was. It was at the Armory in Newport, Tennessee. And we're definitely coming back to this one as well. We want to have a great time, and we're going to see you there, Professor Bear. We're going to see you there tomorrow night, just to let you know. And anybody out there watching, if you guys want to come and see a great show, Crossfire Professional Wrestling is the place to come. And they've always got surprises that take place. As you see, the card is already there of who's going to be there, but they have all sorts of people. Last time we got to see half of the slime ball. Sage Chance was there. there. Sean Hoodrich was there. There's a lot of people who were there. Max Abel was there. There was a lot of people there who weren't listed on the card, but they had significant matches and did excellent stuff. Jackson Drake was there. Hunter Drake was there. It was just a great time in professional wrestling. And we would love to invite you, myself, the Arabbidb3aver, Wrestle Talk with Arabbidb3aver, me and Casera, and also Professor Bear would love to invite you out tomorrow to the Sevierville Civic Center, 120 Gary R. Wade Boulevard in Sevierville, Tennessee. And that bell time is going to be at 8 p.m. So you don't want to miss Black Harvest tomorrow. You can get your tickets at the KFW Wrestling events or at Brown Paper Bags. You can get them right there, guys. And let me tell you, they got just a few left that are going to be online ticket sales, and then they're going to be selling them at the door. So you don't want to miss this event. Come on out and have a good time with us, Professor Bear and myself, and we would love to meet you. We'd love to greet you. We'd love to have a good time with you while we're watching some professional wrestling. So definitely do that for us. Professor Bear, we're almost out of time today. Would you like to tell the fans at home how they can get a hold of you for more information if they're interested in sponsorship or being on the network or hosting a show, having something go on?
Yes. Again, you can find me on Facebook. Always almost like 24/7 on Facebook. You could go to my personal site and send me something through Messenger. That's one of the best places to reach me, or on our Wrestling Society podcast network site. If you're a promoter, if you're a fan, if you just love wrestling, join. We are, as last count, we are like 14 people away from 3,200 members. So we want to keep that number rising. And tell your friend, tell your grandmother, tell anyone who likes wrestling, even don't like wrestling. You will have a great time being a part of the society.
Absolutely. And they have something for everybody in the Wrestling Network Society, as we talked about earlier. So if you're a collector, if you're a seller, you're a reseller, if you guys are gamers, if you guys just want to talk about wrestling and have something in common with your fellow man, this is the place to do it for you on the Wrestling Society Network. And you'll have a good network of people around you who can show you different events that are in the areas that go through. Now, I know I get bombarded by promotions all the time, and I send them everywhere. I know you guys probably get sick of me sending them to you from them sending them to me, but I get hundreds a day sometimes. So I send everything that comes to me that's prominent out, and then some of the stuff that's not so prominent. Bullpen Professional Wrestling in Georgia is one of the best promotions around. PWI out of Lebanon, Tennessee, one of the best promotions around. If you guys get a chance to go to either of those promotions, definitely do it. Check them out. Have some fun. Go see something. Championship One Wrestling out of McDonald, Tennessee, one of the best promotions around, guys. You got to be smart about how you're doing things. And so we try to send everybody that is prominent, everybody that's got something going on, everybody that's having a good show. We want everybody to know where these places are going to be at, whether it's JCP, whether it's actual big NWA, whether it's AWA. If they're coming out and they're doing Georgia Championship Wrestling, because there is a new Georgia Championship Wrestling, by the way. I don't know if you guys know that or not.
Yes.
But there is a new JCW. We try to send those things out to the Wrestling Society Network so that when something prominent comes around, a big match is coming up and they've got some big names, we want you all to know where it's going to be at. And that's including stuff that's connected with other people. Harley Race has World League out there. That's Trevor Murdoch's territory that's going through. We send stuff from them. We also send stuff from Fight the World everywhere. I mean, everybody that's trying to send us stuff, we try to get it on the Wrestling Society Network so that you guys can have a good time and go see some shows and hopefully come out and meet us at one of these shows that we're promoting each and every time. Professor Bear, I mean, it's just incredible what you've done with the network, and I really can't get over it enough because it is a place for everybody.
Yes, and just talking about it made me think of, we're coming soon. We're going to have a list of promotions, so where you can in states, and we're going to try our best to get find them and list them on our website, so you will have a place to go to check there. Again, we have a part called Traveling the Indies with the promotions that we're working with currently, that so you can learn about them and check them out. Some of their stuff on our network. Again, we are just trying to get information out and just be wrestling fans. And focus on the positive and not the negative, and worrying about how many people are at the shows and the ratings. As long as you love wrestling, that should be all that matters. And as my buddy Joe Morgan said, just shut up and enjoy wrestling.
Well, I hate to quote G.I. Joe, but you got to. Knowledge is half the battle here, and now you know. So, so that's actually what's going on, is we're just trying to spread knowledge so that you know and can be better educated and make a better decision on where you want to go, because there's stuff going on all the time. I know Heath Slater is going to be next month at Appalachian Mountain Wrestling. I know he's going to be doing that for the Halloween show. I also know that the School of Morton pushed their overdrive back to Halloween, the 31st, directly in Henderson, North Carolina, just to get some stuff worked out there. And, we've all... Go ahead.
And they're part of the network, and we're discussing having a live show from them. So keep your eye out. You never know.
That's absolutely right. And when it happens, you let us know. We definitely want to be a part of that so we can help you guys out as well. Thank you for being here tonight, Professor Bear, and taking the time out of your busy day to talk to us about the business. And that has been so beneficial to hundreds, if not thousands of wrestlers, their family, friends, and fans. That concludes our show tonight, guys. But before we go, we have to mention Southern Pride Championship Wrestling this weekend, and also Innovate Championship Wrestling this weekend. I'm going to put it up on the screen for you guys. Let's start with Innovate Championship Wrestling here. So we're going to mention it for you that Southern Pride and Innovate Championship Wrestling are, along with Net Pro Studios, are hosting a benefit show for the victims of the hurricane and the firefighters and first responders. Both shows will be donation based, and you can get in with the donation of water, food, canned goods, hygiene products for men and women both. Toiletries, clothing, and so much more. They're all in donations. And this one's going to be in Kingsport on October 6th, Sunday, October 6th, at the beautiful Bobby Eaton Arena for Innovate and Net Pro Studios, LLC. The admission is a donation of a non-perishable food items, new clothing, hygiene products, as we mentioned, water, and for the flood-storm victims and for the firefighters and first responders that are going to be there. And then also, wrong screen. Sorry, guys. SPCW will be doing the same thing for SPCW 121, guys. They will be collecting items for the flood victims as well, hit recently, and we will be expecting great things from both of these shows. So if you want to get in, they are going to be accepting donations on both sides of this for you. And I've got to tell you guys, it's really near and dear to our hearts, because first and foremost, we are Americans, and now is the time to band together as Americans in this time of need and help in any way possible that we can. God save us. God bless us once again, and may he help all those affected by the hurricane. May he be with them, with the first responders, to reach them and to help them come home safely. May him be with all the families who have lost everything, and may he himself show himself again. And for each of us, guys, it's time for us to be an angel. Sometimes angels, we don't even talk about it a whole lot, but angels are real, and sometimes we are the angels, and it's time for us to be angels for our fellow man who need our help. So let's help them, and let's give back to these families who have been distressed in this time of need. Amen. Amen. All right.
Amen.
Thank you, Professor Bear, so much for being here. And we would love to have you back sometime if you're willing.
Definitely. And don't be too alarmed when you see me tomorrow and I have a brace on. I had back surgery in August, so I'm wearing a brace. So I don't want you to think that some wrestler got me in the parking lot.
Don't lie to us.
Well, once you see me, you know that it had to be a bunch of them, because I'm a big boy. So I'm just saying, you come with it, you better be ready.
Absolutely. Thank you, Larry, for that comment for us. He said that he's never watched our show before, but it was really good. So thank you, Larry, for coming in and watching us. We appreciate it.
And Larry is another, just announced, he's a part of the society team. So thank you and congratulations to you, Larry, and continue doing what you do to make us even better. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, you heard it here first on Wrestle Talk with Arabbidb3aver. Thank you, Professor Bear. Bye-bye, guys.